I want to ask you, what is happening when we sleep? Like, what makes sleep so essential? You said it's related to our cognitive functions. You said it's related to all the hormonal things that are happening inside the body and our physical health, mental health. I also read that chronic sleep deprivation leads to things like obesity and then heart diseases because it increases the risk of insulin resistance. So since there's a lot that gets affected with just not sleeping well, what happens when a person is sleeping?
Excellent question. Essentially, the way sleep unrolls through the night, we move through different stages. They are called non-REM and REM sleep. There are multiple non-REM stages that go from light all the way to deep. And then you go into REM sleep, and then the entire cycle repeats itself. It lasts roughly 90 minutes for a typical person to go through that cycle, and then it repeats 4 to 6 times roughly each night.
So it happens no matter what time we are sleeping, when we are sleeping, but as soon as we hit bed, these cycles begin.
Yes. Once you fall asleep, the first stage will be the light sleep, and that's the transition from being awake to actually being asleep.
Right.
It's when your body stops moving. It's when you start to breathe slower. Your body temperature actually can go down. Your blood pressure, your heart rate goes down. Then you'll transition into the deeper and deeper stages of non-REM sleep until you get all the way to deep sleep. Deep sleep is where you are the most deep asleep. You are the less likely to move, less likely to respond to external stimuli. And all of those stages primarily, but not exclusively, are where the body, the physical parts of the body rest. So your muscles, your tissues, that's where they can slow down. You know, if your heart rate slows down, it gives your heart muscle a chance to rest. I mean, think about it. We are born. This muscle never stops working. If you went like this every few seconds for your life, after about 20 minutes, your bicep would probably never want to move again. Your heart is just going for years and years. It needs time to rest, and it can never stop. I mean, it can stop, but you don't want that. So all of the things that slow you down during those stages from light to deeper to deep sleep, then you enter what's called REM sleep. And that's the primary time where the brain and those functions happen. So it's when memories get consolidated, the learning of the day starts to get filed away, those new connections in your brain cells, the neurons start to happen. And it's also it's called REM, or rapid eye movement, because it's typically when you dream. And when you watch someone in REM sleep, you may see, even though their eyes are closed, you can see their eyes moving inside their eyelids. And that's why it's called rapid eye movement sleep. And so the non-REM sleep is mostly where your body physically rests, and the REM is mostly where your brain gets to rest and consolidate the memories of the day. That's what typically happens. But any sort of sleep disorder, let's say you have insomnia, right? Some people have insomnia where they find it difficult to fall asleep. Some have insomnia where they fall asleep, but then they wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep. Unfortunately, some people have both. So if you have interrupted sleep like that, you never get to cycle through all of these stages 4, 5, 6 times every night. It gets interrupted. You may have to start over. You know, sometimes you get you awake during deep sleep when you're supposed to be the most deep, and it's very jarring. If you ever get awoken by your alarm clock and you're in deep sleep, you feel so groggy, and that's what makes you want to hit the snooze button and go back to sleep. And so people actually try and time it using wearables and special smart alarms to look for when you are in the lightest sleep before the alarm goes off to wake you up, so that it's less jarring and more natural for you. Because the way we normally wake up before we had civilization was the sun. That's all we had.
Or birds chirping.
And so our circadian rhythms were tied to, or we evolved to tie them, and they still are, to the sun and to the darkness. And so your body is expecting, when it gets dark, you lay down, you let me go through all of these cycles so I can heal. And then the sun comes up, and I wake up, and I go and challenge the day.
You mentioned that during our deep sleep, which is the REM phase, and our alarm clock suddenly rings, it's not actually a good idea because that breaks the deep sleep cycle. So does that mean having an alarm clock is not good?
It's a controversial topic in a way, because we need alarm clocks. People need to wake up at a certain time. But what we have seen is that, yes, if your alarm clock if it's not intelligent, it doesn't know what stage of sleep you're in. It could, if you set it every morning for 6 a.m., if you just happen to be in deep sleep right at 6 a.m. when it goes up, it's very jarring. But if you're in light sleep, just by chance, and the alarm goes off, it's a more gentle awakening because you're not as deep. You're not, when you're in deep, deep sleep, your muscles are paralyzed. You don't move. It's when your heart rate is the lowest, your body temperature drops, and all of a sudden being woken from that stage can be very, very it's jarring. I wear an Apple Watch, which has those features. If you wear it while you sleep, it will track your sleep, and, certain apps will make it so it will only wake you up if you're in lighter stages of sleep, unless there's like an emergency. So if I need to be up at 6. So it will start looking from 5:30 to 6 to see when you're in the lightest sleep to wake you up. If you get past 6, then it's just going to wake you up so you're not late for your appointment or miss a flight. The alarm clock that I've actually started using, so this is just a silly thing about me. So I mentioned I have a wearable watch. I also have one of those smart rings, an Oura ring. But I have stopped wearing the watch because I discovered another alarm clock that I like much better.
Which is?
The company is called Hatch.
Okay.
And what it does is, and I just mentioned the name, just someone wants to see what it does. I have no connection to the company, but it uses light. What it does is I set the alarm and say, okay, I need to get up at 6 a.m. So at 5:30, it starts with a deep red light. It's not that bright. And then it becomes orange and a little brighter, then yellow, mimics the rising sun.
Wow.
And by 6 o'clock, now it's a bright white light and I see it.
It's like you have your personal sun.
Yes, it's like having your own little sunrise right on your bedstand. Wow. But then there's another key, a huge hack.
Which is?
Once you wake up, even if you're groggy, get lots and lots of natural light right away. And make sure for 20, 30 minutes, you see the sun. Your body needs that cue that says, this is morning, the sun is out, and I am now going to start my day.
Does that also help to regulate your sleep cycle, your circadian rhythm?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is actually happening? Like when we are absorbing sunlight, is it like reducing our melatonin levels?
Similar. So when the sun goes down, melatonin levels will go up. And so that's why it's so important to avoid like doom scrolling TikTok when you're laying in bed, because the blue light that comes from television screens or our phones or our tablets mimics in some ways the sunlight's effect to decrease the melatonin or to not allow melatonin to be released when it should. So yes, having that sleep-wake cycle, getting good sunlight in the morning helps that hormonal response that sets our circadian rhythms. So this is going all the way back to evolution. Think about prehistoric times. We had no alarm clocks. We just had the sun. And our bodies evolved. So the sun is the signal to be awake and active, and the dark is the signal to slow down and go to sleep.
To watch the entire episode, you can head to our main channel, Gunjan Shouts, link of which is in the description below.